3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to another episode of Movement Monday. We're going to kind of continue with the running shoe theme or the running theme, and today I'm going to talk about shoe technology and really what shoe companies do to help give you guys support and hopefully avoid injury. So there's really three kinds of shoes that are out there. I know Dr. Meyer last week talked about another category, which is minimalist versus sort of like a traditional shoe. In the traditional shoe category, we have three main kinds. We're going to have stability shoe, a motion control, and a neutral shoe. Now, motion control is going to be the most stabilizing, the most controlling. It's kind of like an orthotic in a shoe as it is. A stability shoe is going to be a little bit less restrictive in terms of pronation, and the neutral shoe is going to help the runner out in a lot of ways, but it's not going to have as much blocking of pronation. So on the topic of pronation, we consistently hear athletes coming in saying, "Oh, I'm an overpronator." The answer is that pronation is a necessary process for absorbing shock in the running cycle, and if you don't pronate, then you're going to have a higher risk of injury for things like stress fractures or medial tibial stress syndrome, even Achilles problems, because you need the foot to actually absorb shock in the running cycle so that you're not getting injured. So we want to have some pronation, but we want to make sure that it's actually controlled. So if someone is an overpronator, what that should mean is that they're pronating they're pronating too quickly and they don't have good control over that, or that they pronate excessively and that the foot flattens too much and all the way up the kinetic chain, it's going to cause a little bit of dysfunction there. What the shoe typically does is it can't really help underpronators, right? So what it'll do is it will slow down the speed at which you go through pronation, and there's a couple ways that it does this. If we just look at the shoe anatomy, we're going to have obviously the cushion on the bottom here.
Are those yours?
These are mine, yeah. This is definitely my shoe. I like the fuchsia color. Thank you, Dr. Meyer. So with the shoe, one of the things that they'll do is they actually have on this back outside part of the shoe, that's sort of their crash pad. You can even see it here that they've actually put an added amount of rubber in there because this is actually just foam. This is a Saucony Convaro, which is one of my favorite shoes, particularly if it comes in fuchsia. But this rubber part back here is going to be usually bent up a little bit so that it's preparing for heel strike, because when you're walking, you should heel strike here. When you're running, we've talked about this before, you really want to be more forefoot. But with walking, they're going to have a back outside or posterior lateral strike. And what it does is it actually, not in this case, but in a lot of shoes, that part of the crash pad is a little bit softer, or the foam is a little bit less dense than the rest of the shoe. So that allows it to sort of collapse a little bit as the gait cycle is continuing, so that delays the start and slows down when pronation actually happens. The other thing that they do, and this is the main way that they do it, is you're going to have, on the inside of the shoe right here, you're going to have different density foams. In this case, we know this is a stability shoe. This is a neutral shoe because there's not different color foams in here. Now, the shoe industry is nice enough to actually change the color of the foam to mark density changes in the foam. In this case, it's the same foam straight across, so we know that's a neutral shoe. If we had a stability shoe, there's usually going to be like a little trapezoid in here of slightly darker foam. And that slightly darker foam means that it's more dense. So the more dense it is, the more it's going to actually block the foot from rolling that way in pronation, right? If you have a motion control shoe, which is the most restrictive to pronation, you'll probably have, the fuchsia foam, very, very important. Then you'll actually have that trapezoid, but inside that will be an even darker set of foam. If you went and looked at a Brooks Beast, for instance, that's like the most motion control-y shoe out there. So you're going to see three different color foams on the inside of the shoe here. And each one of those is going to block pronation even more so that the athlete isn't overpronating. So with that, that's just kind of like a nice little easy breakdown. So when you go to a shoe store, Or if you just pick up a shoe, you should be able to look just at this part right here and know what category of shoe it is. Now, to answer the question, well, what shoe should I have? Most people should be in a neutral shoe, right? I think that people are traditionally put into stability and motion control shoes excessively, and they don't really need it. If you really want to know, you're going to need to get to your local physical therapist or chiropractor that you trust that works with runners. A lot of the running shoe stores, I think that they will have some people that will be able to do that. But really what needs to happen is there needs to be an assessment of not just the gait cycle, but also the hip and the foot in detail without shoes on to look through that so that you know if you really do need a stability or a motion control shoe. So I think that's all that I've got. I probably, like normal, went over too long. Sorry. We'll see you next week.